Hi, welcome to the most important podcast ever. How many times have I said that? 53. This is our 1-year anniversary show, and we've got a couple of things planned for you in this episode. We're going to hear from the people behind the camera in a roundtable. You know I love a roundtable. You know I love a town hall. We're going to have one of those with Sean and Thomas and Angelica. And we're going to have some closing thoughts from me. But I want to start by talking about the very beginning. A year ago, we turned on the lights here at the most important podcast ever, inside Streetside Studio 7, powered by a simple idea, no master plan. The idea was this, that ordinary people carry extraordinary stories and that they'd be willing to share them with us and you'd be interested in hearing them and learning from them. Over the past year, the guests we have had have been amazing, so willing to give of their stories to us so that we could learn from them. Over the past year, we've heard stories that were about courage, discipline. I think about the discipline of my running friends, Earl and Karen, and what it takes to be out there every day. We've heard stories about friendship, leadership. We've heard stories of unimaginable loss. In the aftermath of that loss, how people moved forward. We've heard stories of reinvention. And all the stories have several common threads, but one that really sticks out to me is this idea of purpose. All these stories have purpose. And every once in a while, someone said something that stopped us right in our tracks. In fact, like every single episode, multiple times. So I set about a very difficult task of looking for 12 moments that I thought captured a flavor of what we've done over the course of the first year. But of course, I couldn't stop there. So here's a baker's dozen, 13 moments from our first year.
And because of my personality, I made a promise to myself that I was just going to do it every single day, and I was just not going to stop. And so I would say it was, that first month or so, it was as much as I could possibly do. And then very quickly, it became 10 miles a day. And that's because I have this weird, it's probably the retail part of me, right? But it's like you come up with an objective, you come up with a plan, you make a promise to yourself, and then you just don't stop.
Oh yeah.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty. I would tell Brian, my guys, you do what I ask. And sports is a wonderful thing. I'm not here to be your friend. But if as a result of our relationship, the athletic relationship, coach-player, we become friends, it's a beautiful thing.
Other people, like meeting people where they are. Like, it's really important. That's often viewed too one-dimensionally in my mind. People think, oh yeah, they use email, so we'll send them an email. Everyone has a phone, so we'll have an app. That's a very one-dimensional view. you need to meet people where they are emotionally, where they are intellectually. You need to meet people at a very human level, regardless of the medium you're using to deliver the message.
On the way are both points most of the time. And in sunsets, you got to look the opposite way. But it's just amazing. You sit there and relax. You're like, how am I doing this? What did I do right to deserve this? And it's just like, you just got to take the risk, do what you want to do, and just don't hold back. Just go for it.
And I really trace that adaptability for me back to when I was 7 and just learning to really try to understand people because I wanted to have friends, right? So I thought, okay, completely different culture, just what 1 or 2 states over, but to go from an urban environment, with lots of friends and family and people that looked like me to a place where no one looked like me except for this kid named Lamont, Lakeisha Lamont, right? But I think we were the only 2 Black kids in the entire town at that time. So I think I developed an early interest in culture.
My really favorite books on leadership by Eugene Haybaker is called The Softer Side of Leadership. And in there, he says great leaders do 3 things when disaster, hits, right? One is absorb the chaos, which I think is really important. Then 2, project calm, and 3, present hope.
Was this idea that you're creating experiences people feel. I remember when you were educating me, and at the beginning I was like, how much is it going to cost? How, what do we get for this? And you're like, we're creating experiences people feel, not just events they attend.
I think I would have told young JT, like, hey, you're in a really good spot, surrounded by great people, enjoy the ride.
There's dignity in work, and people like having a job, and they like having a job that they like.
Through it and saying, look, this is my life now. It's not going to be the same because I grieved my old self. Like, I'm not me anymore. A piece of me is missing, has died in a way. And I had to grieve that. And once I accepted it, it was really easy to start seeing the positives that you and I talked about. That really, for me, it showed me what true belief means, to believe something, whether that be your faith or your family or all of it together. Getting to reality is hugely important.
I go, if I can help out, I'll help out. It's like, I grew up, and you're like, if you can help, you help. I don't have a lot of money, but I can give. I guess I'm going to give a kidney.
As far as specific coaching philosophy, I don't know if there's like one hard and fast rule or scheme or system that I would say I'm like a firm only believe in this. I think the biggest thing, if I had to just say one thing, I would say my philosophy would be it's all about the players. The players come first, so your whole system should be built around making sure the players have everything that they need to succeed and play at the highest level, perform at the highest level.
The one you feed. Because in every moment, in the noise and in the quiet, in the stress, in the celebration, when we're bone tired or everything feels effortless, the wolf is at the door. The wolf is always at the door. And every one of us gets to choose which wolf we let in, which wolf we strengthen, which wolf we feed. Choose kindness, choose humility, choose gratitude, choose the better wolf in your nature. Choose wisely. Through the first year of our podcast, we've had a chance to hear some remarkable stories from some remarkable people. And I've had the great privilege of being the one on camera talking with people. But this group of people seated right here are really what make this go. So maybe you guys could take a second to introduce yourselves.
Hello, I am Thomas Weiler, technical producer for the most important podcast ever and Streetside Studio 7.
Hello, I'm Angelica Garcia, and I run the Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok accounts for the most important podcast ever.
Hey, and Sean Duzing. I'm with Streetside Studio 7 support, and also with Deja Blue House of Coffee.
And I am Brian Dunn, your host. And I have to tell you, when I first went into this podcast, I did not know these folks well, and I have grown to love, and I choose that word purposefully, each of them. In fact, I fancy myself BFFs with Thomas, although he's not having any part of it. But I really have, it's a labor of love, and these people give so freely of themselves to help give the best product we can. So I am so profoundly grateful. So I thought it might be interesting to get some impressions from each of you about our first year. And I sort of want to go all the way back to the beginning when we first started. What did you expect? What did you think this thing of ours was going to be?
Well, I can say from my point of view, it was a bit interesting because it was more Sean and Patty approached me like, hey, we have this person that's wanting to come into the studio and record a podcast, but he needs technical help. He doesn't know anything about the tech. So I'm brainstorming what I can use.
Is that what they said? I didn't know anything about the tech. Oh, okay. That's how it's going to be.
I may be exaggerating a little bit. It's been a year or more since that conversation happened, but I brainstormed several ideas and be like, okay, I don't know anything about this person. All I know is I need to find a way to record a podcast for them, and they want remote guests.
Yeah.
That's what I got going into it. And I set up an example for you for our meeting and showed that off as much I could, just trying to sell my basically product that I threw together. And I really didn't have many expectations past how am I going to sell this?
Fair enough. I'll tell you what my thought about you was. My mouth would just run with ideas, and Thomas would look at me and not react. And I've been called every bad name you can imagine. I've had people tell me they love me. I've had people tell me they hate me. I've never been ignored in quite the same way that Thomas is able to do. And of course, now he says he's processing when he's ignoring me. And for the sake of our being BFFs, I go along with the processing. How about you, Angelica? What did you think?
I mean, I didn't think of the tech side at all, of course. There was this nice customer who was coming into the coffee shop who was talking to my aunt one day, and he was telling her how he wanted to start a podcast. And my aunt was like, hey, me too. And it just kind of grew from there. And I knew it was going to be something really special because just from that first conversation with you, how excited and passionate you were about it before it even became a tangible thing that people can view was super cool to see. So if you care about something to such an extent, of course, it's going to grow into something so big and cool.
Thank you so much. I'll never forget that conversation with Patty. And she said, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. I'm not supposed to tell anybody. We're building a studio here. And all the tumblers in my head just went click, click, click. This is what I want to do. And it has given my life a purpose. I am so obsessed with this work we're doing, and I'm enjoying it so much. How about you, Sean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the first thought that I had too, is Patty had this vision of starting a podcast studio. I have no idea idea. It's not in my realm of consciousness even. And but she's talking about it. She's got this vision, and we're going to put this together. And we were talking about, how she has this vision of what it's going to look like, and we start trying to pull things together to get that going. And we were hitting a wall with something in the build. She had it kind of in her head, but it wasn't coming together physically. That was my job, and I don't know what I'm getting myself into.
And Patty's so patient about stuff when it's not coming together.
And I'll never forget when I came in for lunch one day and she said, "You'll never guess what happened." Okay, yeah, what, no, guess. I don't know. And she said, "Brian came in here and she said, how I've been struggling with this." And I was just kind of, mulling it over and he asked, "Hey, what's going on, Patty?" And she said, I just shared it because she holds her cards tight. She wasn't sharing this with anybody because she wanted to get it going,
Of course.
without it getting out there. And,
Yeah.
And she explained the conversation that she had with you that day as you started telling her that, and she said you just literally dropped. What? And we're arms up in the air.
Oh yeah.
And almost dancing around the entire store. I can't believe this. I can't believe this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just that on fire about it. And it was like, this is not a coincidence that you came into our presence shortly before that.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't a long time, but maybe a few months. I don't know, but
not even.
Yeah, probably not. And so I felt like there's really something to this. This is really something that's supposed to happen, and we're going to put everything that we've got into it.
I completely agree that this was serendipitous. I'm not a big believer in coincidences, and I think there are forces in play here.
Mhm.
So that is so cool. And Patty is a force of nature.
She's the force.
Patty is a force of nature. So I've been thinking a lot about the first year, and I'm just wondering, and I'd love to go around the table again. Angelica, we'll start with you. Were there any moments or a moment that stuck with you from an episode this year?
One of my favorite episodes was the one on Susie. I think it was titled Susie and then top 10 or Susie moments or lessons.
Yep.
And that was really cool. And the essay you wrote to go along with it touched me a lot. That was very sweet. And I reread it so many times. But just the lessons I got was really good from that episode.
Yeah, that was from the heart for sure.
And you could definitely tell.
For sure.
For sure. And yeah.
How about you, Sean?
As I think back over the year, and what stands out the most to me is how it all started with ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I think I've never, resonated with podcasts like I have with these, because it literally is ordinary people with extraordinary stories. But we're all ordinary people, so it's so relatable that way. And there's not a single one that I have not related to. And I think about, who would be listening to this that could relate to this, and it's almost everybody. That's what's really stood out to me.
I love, I'm with you on that. And I love the idea that it's ordinary people have done extraordinary things, and the unspoken or unwritten part of that really in my brain is there's no such thing as an ordinary person.
Right.
I mean, everybody has a wonderful uniqueness to them and are capable of amazing things. How about you, Thomas?
I'm kind of in the same boat with Sean, where it's each episode something's new is brought to the table. From our first episode, which I am horrible with names, so I'm not going to even try with the names of the episode. But from the first episode and some of the technical difficulties we've had along the way, they've all just kind of stuck with me.
Interestingly, all the technical difficulties have stuck with me as well. But
yeah, but especially our repeat guests like Guy, who every time bring something new that we didn't touch on last time. And it just really enforces that point where everyone's living their own lives. Everyone has a story. Let's bring their story to the forefront and see how much we relate to other people that could be miles away across the country, even across the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. I think that's, I think you're right on the core of what we're trying to do. When I think about episodes and moments that stuck with me, I just want to say publicly to Susan Berard and Michelle Carey, both of which were episode 1 and 3, although we recorded them 1 and 2. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Your stories are amazing. And I made myself go back and watch the first 5. And I know I have miles to go before I'm good at this. I watched the first 5. I can't believe you all stuck with me. So thank you very much for that. But Susan and Mish, I owe you another episode that's better. And I thank you so much for helping. In fact, Mish helped me I did a couple of practice interviews as I was thinking about doing all this before Patty even talked to me.
Wow.
So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. How about behind the scenes moment? Is there anything terribly foolish I've done or Thomas has done? Or are there any moments, any gaffes that stick out for you? Sean, let's start with you.
Oh boy.
Or something unexpected. Anything unexpected happen in an episode?
I'm trying to think of anything, no real major catastrophes. We've
except the episode that Angelica and I looked very ill in.
There's more than just
there was
that
that.
one.
Yeah.
That one at least recorded fine.
Yes.
Yeah. It sort of looked like it was done in a cave with candlelit cave, something like that.
Candle would have been nice. Yeah.
but I think about, from the beginning, and you mentioned that the process is really refined since then. I mean, of course, we have, higher aspirations of where we want it to get to. And we're probably nowhere close to that, but amazing what it's done and the improvements that we've made. Just little bits, taking little bites off, and I'm excited about it. And I think in the podcast, as in life, you're never really there. It's all about the journey and improving the process, and that never stops.
Absolutely.
So we can look back and laugh, I think, at some of the things that we've done in the past, but I look forward to moving forward.
I assure you, when I look back at the first 5, I was not laughing. I was cringing at me. It had nothing to do with you guys. And I'm just like, God has blessed me that this crew has stayed with me because, good Lord. Thomas, how about you?
One of the really things in the early days that just came to mind when thinking about the technical difficulties. For one, streaming guests from halfway across the country or the other side of the world, not having a reliable connection on our side. That was just a bit too finicky. This moment is good, that moment's not. And then we end up with pixelated people coming in or choppy audio, and the episode's just unusable, even though it sounded fine. Those moments always bring to mind, especially the moments that are long past us now, of Brian always tapping the table. Trying to deal with that.
I had some annoying tics, hard for you all to believe, I'm sure, but I had some annoying things.
And the audio picked it up great.
Because the mic was a stand on the table and picked up everything. Didn't have these fancy things.
In fact, I should mention Kevin Trainer and Joe Kalkman, and I think Mish, we had to re-record 3 episodes. So thank you all very much for your patience. How about you, Angelica?
gosh, I really enjoyed the Christmas Carol experience in that season of the most important podcast ever. But it is also cutie because I start the film evening with you guys, but then I kind of head out once I get the
Yep.
pictures and videos I need. But it's cute seeing the three guys just hang out. They're setting up for the podcast, having a good time. I can see how much you enjoy doing this and then doing it together, which is super cool.
It really is. And I love my time with these guys. I do. And I'm so glad, Angelica, that you've come in and you're bringing a whole different perspective to what we're doing. And I think it's awesome. I really do. This is a bit more pie in the sky, or high in the sky, depending on, it's not 1985 anymore. So let's say pie. I went into this thing wondering if the hypothesis about ordinary people doing extraordinary things would hold up. And after a year, I think it's not only held up, I think we're just scratching the surface of what's here. And I think that's why, and I spend a lot of hours on this every week. It's basically a full-time job for me with all the correspondence, and we're getting lots of people that want to get their clients on the show and things now, which is great, but it's absolutely a labor of love. I'm curious what you thought about the hypothesis at the beginning.
I thought it was cool, and I was like, dang, yeah, that makes sense. Like, extraordinary people doing ordinary, or ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I was like, what a perfect thing.
Yeah.
Wow. To build off that, that's so cool.
Yeah. And my thought, I didn't really have a perspective, because I thought, it maybe was going to be more on the corporate side, but it isn't. It's on the personal side, and that's what really stood out. And it might be somebody's personal experience in corporate, it might be that, but there's always the personal human side to every story. And that's what I think, that really is what resonates with me and really kind of makes that connection.
Yeah. I think that observation really resonates with me, because I think that has been one of the things that has continuously amazed me, whether we're talking about Jimmy Williams going through the unthinkable, or we're talking about an episode with any one of the Baudin dialogues, where Guy is connecting both the personal and the business in a really interesting way, because you can't really separate. This is business Angelica, and this is personal Angelica. And our guest, recent guest, Kelly McGinnis, talked about there's no such thing. You're one person. And I thought her episode talking about those things was very, very instructive for me.
I will just saying, when I first heard the name of the podcast, the most important podcast ever, I was a bit skeptical about what it was going to be about.
Yeah.
You thought, he's just another one of those horses rear end sniveling pile of tweed executives that thinks he's all that.
Well, at first I didn't even know you were an executive. So I was just like, that's a bit pretentious, isn't it? But once I heard the catchphrase, the real attention grabber.
Yeah.
Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That's when I first it opened my eyes and be like, this really is the most important podcast ever, because it's not about certain people. It's about everyone. Everyone has stories to tell.
Yeah.
And we're telling those stories for the world to see.
Thomas, I love that. I think you've really captured the essence of that. Very cool.
I like the episodes with Guy as well. So we do leadership training at my place of business, and we started watching those episodes with Guy in there, and we've been doing those I think 8 years, meeting weekly. We have never had the participation from the entire group like we've had with those, because it's so relatable. You know, we're doing a lot of different books and a lot of a few other podcasts as well, but none of them have really stood out and really just got everybody engaged. So it's unique. There's something special about it.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm really grateful for about is it's allowed Guy and I to reconnect in a meaningful way, and I've really enjoyed that a lot. Angelica mentioned the Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
That was a real passion project for me, and I was blown away at how much people gave of themselves, time, hours and hours and hours of rehearsing and walking through it. And you, Thomas, the way you were diving into it, and Sean, how you got into your roles and you provided the venue for this. And Angelica, in one of the smartest moves of my life, I asked her to be the stage director and the chief costumer.
That was so much fun.
And I loved that. So I will look at those episodes for the years ahead, and it will always make me very happy that we did that.
Yeah.
Really, and I loved the way the community came together. I even liked Logan trying to change Charles Dickens' line. Wouldn't it be better if he didn't say, God bless us, everyone, but instead said, God bless us all? I'm said, I'm sorry. It's not the way Dickens
I
wrote it.
never realized that he had never seen that show.
He didn't watch
ever.
it until we were like 2 weeks done filming.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, he'd never seen it.
So
Sweet
he
boy.
was going in completely cold. God bless us, everyone. Love to go around the table. 2 more things. I'd like to hear what everybody's learned from our guests over the first year. Is there one thing that stood out?
It's super cool watching all of them, but I like seeing the females in higher roles in business. It's super cool and something that I hope I can achieve in my own business.
You certainly will. Of this, I have no doubt. Thomas, how about you, my friend?
I'd say the one thing I've learned through watching all the guests, everyone has this one thing in common, and their lives are like everyone else's.
Yep.
The youngest out of the group here, am very inexperienced in personal relations and just world experience. To be
Yep.
honest. Growing up, I really kept to myself a lot. So understanding that, I'm not in a world of NPCs. I'm in a world of actual people who have their own lives. It
Yep.
really helped me understand a bit more of a personal connection with the everyday stranger walking across the street.
Yeah. I love that, Thomas. That's really cool. Sean?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get the names now, but the 2 gentlemen that were acquaintances years back at work, and the one had a kidney that was failing. And
Steve and Brad.
Oh my gosh. I mean, if that doesn't hit you in the heart, that he just was so willing.
Oh yeah.
And where does that come from?
Who does it? Who does that?
Exactly. And so I thought, to me, that was inspired, from the heavens, because it's not something you muster on your own, I don't think. And so that was really a heartfelt story.
They're going to be back in 2 weeks. Follow-up episode to see how they're
that's
doing.
awesome.
How exciting.
I'm super excited about
Wait
it.
to hear from them.
Yep, I've talked to them both, and they're doing well. So that's super, super exciting. Here's the thing I've learned. How deep people are. And it's every single person, and you just touched on this, that we walk by in the street or walk by in a store or a mall or walk in to a coffee shop, and all of a sudden before you know it, you've learned their stories, you've connected to their stories, and you got a handful of great friends you never even knew existed. And one of the things, Thomas, I'm so glad I've gotten to know you. You're so deep, man. And I mean it. And you have such a spiritual connection that I admire and I'm moved by. And Sean, you're as hard a working a man as I've ever known in my life. And I admire you you are living, you and Patty, but you are living the entrepreneur's sweat. And that is the American story, man. And I think it's amazing. And at first I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's roasting his own beans. And that's like one of 7 things you do.
Yeah.
So I have so much admiration. So my big learning point is, and I pick up something from every guest. I remember every episode vividly, but I've picked up so much from all of you, and I just wanted you guys to know that. So enough nice things about the year past. Looking ahead, what excites you most about what we're going to do with this platform? Angelica.
What excites me more? Well, there's a potential that is being kept on the down low right now that would be super exciting. But okay, so I look through the older episodes too, and it's really cool seeing
Thanks for admitting that.
seeing you kind of just be so comfortable. Like this is what you love, and all the rust is gone.
And no, I think that's totally fair. I think it's totally fair.
But I'm excited to just see it continue to grow. I love all the 2-parter episodes, and having like in a couple of weeks, you said the guys come back. That's really cool because not only have we built a community among ourselves, but among your guests too. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's right. And we've got some cool things in mind for that too. How about you, Sean?
I think in the year to come, here's to summarize it. I think the connections that we've built with all the podcasters, I just think there's so much power in that. And when we did the Christmas Carol, that brought this group together. In a really close and intimate way, because we just learned so much about each other and what gifts that everybody brings to the table. That's exciting.
Like I've known Thomas for years, but we didn't become close until your Christmas Carol. Like with all the Zany Talks boys, I can now call them all friends. And that was because of the most important podcast ever.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they're great. Like I love them so much.
I love that. And it actually moves me quite a bit. One of my favorite moments at the end of when we pack up the studio, Sean and Thomas and I share a hug and a prayer of gratitude that we hopefully did the person's story justice that we just recorded. And I love that. So I want you guys to know, put your arm around Thomas. I love you guys, and I'm so excited about the year ahead. Thank you so much. When we started this podcast a year ago, I had a simple belief that if you gave people the space to tell their stories, really listened, and approached every conversation with curiosity and respect, you would discover something powerful. You would discover that there is no such thing as an ordinary life. A year later, I can tell you something with complete certainty. that premise holds. Over and over again this year, we've seen it. In stories of resilience, in stories of loss and love, in stories of leadership, faith, courage, and perseverance. People who might describe themselves as ordinary, but whose lives tell a different story. And that's what this podcast has revealed so clearly. Every life contains chapters of struggle, moments of grace, lessons hard won, wisdom earned through experience. When we take time to listen to those stories, something remarkable happens. We see each other more clearly. We understand each other more deeply, and we realize just how much we can learn from one another. This podcast has also illuminated some long, dark corridors in my own life. And the most remarkable thing is that when I hear these stories now, I don't just hear them, I feel them. They remind me why this work matters. They remind me that stories connect us. They teach us. They help us navigate the tough moments in our own lives. And they make me even more committed to the mission that we started a year ago, to continue building this platform, to continue creating space for people to tell their stories, to continue sharing the lessons that emerge when ordinary people do extraordinary things. I'm deeply grateful to every guest who has trusted us with their story, their remarkable stories. And to the incredible team behind this podcast, Thomas, Sean, and Angelica, who help bring these conversations to life week after week, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Year one has confirmed something important. The stories are out there, and they matter. So we're going to keep going. More conversations, more stories, more lessons worth sharing. Because when we listen closely enough, we discover something beautiful. There truly is no such thing as an ordinary life. I am so energized by this work. I'm so excited about scaling and building this platform. And we're just getting started. Thank you so much for being part of this journey. And especially a thank you to our faithful watchers and listeners. And year two, let's go. We'll see you next week.